Welcome back everyone, it's me Matt, thanks so much for joining me today. Now, as an artillery gunner, I get hot and sweaty when it comes to heavy artillery, and this beast is hands down, in my opinion, the world's greatest self-propelled gun. And there's many reasons as to why I love this platform, and many of you are probably screaming at the screen saying, well, of course you like the K9 Thunder Maximus, because of course Canada is looking at its own self-propelled platform, and this is potentially one of the contenders. But no, it is not because I am a fanboy of my own country's procurement. It is because this vehicle is absolutely incredible, both on the field, on paper, and in terms of its capability as an artillery platform. Truly, I've done a lot of deep research on this equipment. I've really loved the Panzeritz 2000, an incredible German self-propelled gun, but the K9 Thunder, particularly in its more modern day variant, is certainly a step ahead of most SPGs of today. And, you know, a lot of people have their preference to things. There's no best in the world. It's one of those weird anomalies where people say it's the best of something. You can't compare something that is so broad in its spectrum of use in the artillery to something as being the best. It's just not going to happen that way. And you know I don't really play that game on my channel. But in this particular instance, I'm willing to make an bit of an exception. But before I do go into today's video of this beautiful self-propelled howitzer, let me know in the comments what your favorite self-propelled gun is. I'd love to listen to some of you having a bit of a debate. Sometimes it gets a little heated in that comment section, but it's fascinating to see your feedback and your own reasons as to why you think your own self-propelled gun or artillery platform is the best in the world. So let's get into the deep dive of the beautiful K9 Thunder. So the K9 Thunder has a lot of hype around it, and rightly so. It's rapidly become one of the most prominent artillery systems in the world. It holds over half of the global self-propelled howitzer market since the year 2000. In other words, this is the South Korean beast that just isn't a local weapon, it's a global artillery powerhouse, and I mean that in every sense of the word. It is dominating the battlefield for artillery purchases, and it compares very well with common rivals like the American 109 Paladin and the German Panzeritz 2000, which is previously my favourite self-propelled gun in the world, as I said. But how did we get here? Well, in the 1980s, South Korea faced a serious artillery gap. The North Korean army deployed long-range guns like the 170mm Poongsan that outranged South Korea's older artillery such as the M107 and the K55 self-propelled howitzers. To protect itself, Seoul needed a new, longer-reaching, faster-firing and more mobile, technologically advanced artillery system. Thus began the K9 Thunder project in 1989. This was led by the Agency for Defense Development and Samsung Aerospace, now part of Hanwha. Early on, South Korean engineers recognized that future artillery battles would demand a burst fire and quick relocation, effectively shoot-and-scoot tactics, which we see today. They initially considered upgrading existing American-designed howitzers like the M109 Paladin improvement, but ultimately decided to build a brand new system from scratch. Developing a world-class howitzer really was not easy. Korean designers sought foreign help for certain components. For instance, they inquired about turret technology from the beautiful UK AS90 program, which I have worked on before in repair, and they are a great bit of kit, but of course also coming out of service. But when that proved too costly, they developed their own turret and recoil system. By the late 1990s, the project came to fruition. The first K9 prototype was rolled out in 1999 and delivered to the South Korean military, specifically to a Marine unit stationed on Dongmyeong Island. Fittingly named the Thunder, the K9 was ready to shake the battlefield. It was designed to outrange and outgun North Korea's artillery, giving South Korean forces a decisive edge in firepower. The successful development of the K9 represented a huge leap forward in South Korea's defense industry, and this is key. South Korea's defense industry is booming right now. It proved that they could innovate a complex weapon system at home, rather than relying on imports. But of course, what makes it such a powerhouse? This is the question many are asking. Well, let's break it down a little bit in its design and specs. Like everything in my core of the artillery, it's always about firepower, and the projectile is the weapon of the artillery, and at its core, the 155mm round is what's being utilized, being placed upon the L52 caliber howitzer, a big gun that can hurl shells out to about 40 kilometers or 25 miles with the right ammunition, and potentially even further soon up to 50 kilometers. That's in fact with rocket-assisted or specialized rounds, the K9 could reach even further, potentially beyond 50 kilometers. The howitzer is equipped with an efficient semi-automatic loading system, and in practice this gives the K9 an impressive burst fire capability. It can fire 3 rounds in under 15 seconds, just saying it makes me laugh, and sustain 6 to 8 rounds per minute for a few minutes. After that, it settles to a steady 2 to 3 rounds per minute as the crew manually feeds additional rounds. You have to remember that as much as you automate something, it still needs to be replenished in terms of logistics, and also crews get tired. This is not fully autonomous. This rate of fire, combined with a modern fire control computer, even enables multiple round simultaneous impact firing, where one K9 can land several shells on a target at the same time by varying trajectories. In short, the K9 delivers heavy, rapid firepower on demand and extremely accurately. Mobility and protection are also key features of this vehicle. Despite weighing around 47 tons, the K9 is driven by a 1000 horsepower diesel engine, overpowered German MTU A81, and this has been produced domestically. It can roar up to roads at 67 km an hour and has an operational range around 360 km on a full tank. Being that it's a track chassis, of course, yes, there's more maintenance, but the advanced suspension is allowing it to handle all kinds of terrain, and there's been a lot of good feedback from the deserts to the snow, proving in trials either in the Middle East or in Nordic winters that it is very good off-road. The K9's hull and turret are armoured against shrapnel and small arms, giving the crew protection from counter-battery fire, and notably, the K9 is designed for quick action. It can come to a stop and be ready to fire in under 30 seconds, then relocate as fast as possible to avoid enemy retaliation. This vehicle, like many others, is truly a shoot and scoot specialist in modern artillery doctrine. The vehicle is typically operated by a crew of 5, driver, commander, gunner and 2 loaders, though the automated features greatly reduce their workload. But here's the kicker, folks, and not the so sexy kicker: logistics. Additionally, the K9 is usually paired with its dedicated ammunition resupply vehicle, the K10 ARV, which can reload the K9 in under 10 minutes, folks. A full stocked platform back up and running in 10 minutes. This integrated design means the K9 battery can keep up to the high rate of fire and then move before the enemy can zero in on them, but replenish all at the same time. All these design elements, the big gun, faster loading, high mobility and decent protection, combine to make the K9 Thunder a very well balanced and lethal artillery system. More importantly, it is not that expensive. For South Korea, the K9 Thunder isn't just a piece of equipment, it's the backbone of their artillery forces. They are putting all of their eggs in one basket here, and when a country does that, you better believe they're going to put the quality and the design effort into making sure it does what it needs to do. Both the Republic of Korea Army and Marine Corps have deployed K9s in vast numbers. Over 1,100 K9 units were produced for Korean forces through 2017. In South Korean service, these howitzers are the cornerstone of the defense strategy against the North. The doctrine is straightforward: if North Korea fires, counterfire with overwhelming force, and quickly. There is not much time if something goes hot in the North and South K9 battle. K9 batteries are integrated with counter-battery radar systems to detect enemy artillery launches from the vehicle. For example, South Korean units employ radars like the AN-TPQ-36 and 37 to pinpoint incoming fire, all inside one platform. Once the enemy gun is located, the K9s can quickly pivot, input coordinates digitally, and open fire within moments. Speed is crucial. South Korean doctrine emphasizes that within seconds of an enemy barrage, their K9s should already be answering with thunderous salvos before shooting and scooting to a new position. This quick reaction capability is exactly what the K9 was designed for, and which of course many countries around the world, particularly of that in Europe right now, are also looking for. South Korea has tailored the deployments of the K9 to its unique geography and threats. Along the demilitarized zone and on the border islands like Yeopyeong, K9 howitzers stand ready as a deterrent and rapid response tool. In fact, the very first K9s were issued to the Marine Artillery Battalion Yeopyeong right on the front line. This shows the level of trust the military placed in the new system even when they were straight off the line to hold critical defensive points. But the K9 Thunder has seen combat. It saw its baptism by fire in November 2010 during the bombardment of Pyongyang. In that instant, North Korea launched a surprise artillery attack on the South Korean island. 6 K9 howitzers stationed there with the ROK Marines suddenly found themselves under real enemy threat and fire. Despite the shock, and they were certainly in shock, the K9 crews sprang into action. The North Korean shells did score some hits, however. Several K9s took shrapnel damage, and one even caught fire externally. But thanks to the vehicle's sturdy construction and the crew's dedicated training, no crew members were killed. Within minutes, the Marines moved the less damaged howitzers into alternate firing positions and began a counter-battery strike. During the exchange, 3 K9s managed to fire back dozens of rounds at North Korean positions despite damaged communications and one gun temporarily disabled. The K9 Thunder's performance in this incident was closely scrutinized, and it largely proved its worth. It withstood enemy fire without catastrophic losses, and it delivered a retaliatory punch under pressure and extremely quickly. This event really gave the K9 survivability and extremely good effectiveness in combat, and also revealed some areas for improvement, such as communication backups and hatch discipline, which were later addressed. Beyond the Korean peninsula, the K9's design and its derivatives have seen action elsewhere. Turkey, for instance, produced the T-155 Fırtına, a licensed variant of the K9. Turkish Fırtınas were the howitzers that have been battle-tested also in several conflicts. They provided heavy fire support during Turkey's operations in Syria, including campaigns like the Euphrates Shield 2016 and Olive Branch 2018 against insurgent and militant groups. These operations demonstrate that the K9's offspring can endure those harsh combat conditions also, particularly from the desert heat and continuous firing schedules. In these conflicts, they proved accurate and very reliable at knocking out enemy positions, earning the reputation as a dependable workhorse of the Turkish artillery. Similarly, the K9's Indian variant, the K9 Vajra T, has been deployed in high-altitude border areas of Laka and tensions within China. Now, while it hasn't been fired in anger there, the mere presence of them being in the Himalayas, where temperatures plummet and the air is thin, shows the system's adaptability to extreme environments. A successful test of its engine and systems in the cold, particularly in mountainous terrain, was very successful. But how does the K9 Thunder compare to other well-known self-propelled guns? Well, of course, let's start with the American M109 Paladin and my favourite German Panzeritz 2000, since these are often seen as the benchmarks. The M109 series has been around for decades and has been gradually upgraded, latest to the M109A6-A7 Paladin, and in true terms of firepower, the K9's 52 caliber gun and autoloader give it an edge over the older M109's 39 caliber gun. A Paladin typically fires a shorter distance too, around 24 kilometers with standard rounds and up to 30 with rocket assisted. K9 reaches roughly 30 kilometers with standard ammo and 40 to 50 kilometers with special munitions. But the rate of fire is a crucial differentiator. The US Army's M109A6 can do about 3 rounds per minute in short bursts and about 1 or 2 rounds per minute sustained, limited by its largely manual loading. The K9, with its semi-automated loader, can double that pace, unloading 6 to 8 rounds per minute in a burst. That means the K9 can deliver a heavier punch in crucial first minutes of a firefight, and both the K9 and the modern M109s have a similar crew of around 4 to 5 and are well armoured against shrapnel. The M109's strength is that it has been battle-proven over many wars and has lots of upgrades in navigation and fire control. However, the K9 was essentially South Korea's answer to the Paladin, so it was built to exceed the M109 in range, speed, automation, and it truly does. But what about the German Panzeritz 2000, often considered the gold standard of Western SPGs? The vehicles are actually quite comparable in quite a lot of ways. Both use the 155mm L52 guns. In fact, they even share some components like the engine. The K9's original MTU power pack is the same as the model used in the Panzeritz 2000. But the 2000 has highly automated loading systems and can achieve a blistering rate of fire, 3 rounds in 9 seconds and up to 10 rounds per minute under optimal conditions. That slightly outstrips the K9's roughly 6 to 8 rounds per minute, so the German gun can put more steel down range a bit faster. Both systems have similar maximum ranges, about 40 kilometers with standard projectiles, farther with smart munitions, and the 2000 holds around 60 rounds on board versus the K9's 48. It also has a reputation for excellent accuracy and very advanced fire control systems. However, the Panzeritz 2000 is a beast. I've seen them charging down the range roads in Germany when I was there. We all looked at them in awe. They're like literally moving houses. It's larger and heavier. It's 55 tons combat loaded and considerably more expensive than the K9s. For many countries, the K9 offers a sweet spot though, nearly the same firepower and modern features as the Panzeritz 2000, but at a much lower cost and with the option for local production. Indeed, in trials, for example in Finland and Norway, the K9 reportedly matched or even outperformed the Panzeritz 2000 in some metrics, which, combined with cost, influenced those armies to choose the K9 Thunder. But I think it's also worth mentioning other peers like the British AS-90 and the French Caesar. For instance, both of these have shorter guns, the AS-90's 39 caliber or diffy-wheeled format with the Caesar. When comparing mobility, the K9's top speed of 67 km/h is on par or even better than most tracked or even potentially wheeled SPGs. Thanks to its extremely robust chassis and suspension, it's demonstrated that no matter where it goes, it's very versatile and can keep up with some of the newer designs even on wheels. But its global success really is doing so well for this platform. It's learning new capabilities, new feedback, new market feedback analysis. The K9 family accounts for about 52% of the global self-propelled howitzer market, including wheel types, since 2000. That's an astonishing market share, owing to a string of big export deals. Let me list a few for you. Turkey, India, Poland, Finland, Norway, Estonia, Australia, and Egypt. And they've either bought the vehicles or licensed produced the K9 variants. Poland in particular has become a huge K9 customer. In 2022, Poland signed agreements to acquire 672 K9 Thunders in multiple batches, a massive expansion aimed at strengthening its artillery forces. In fact, to jumpstart Poland's defense, South Korea even transferred some K9s out of its own army stocks as an interim solution called the K9 Gap Fillers. This was so Poland could deploy artillery quickly, and with the new production K9s to follow later on. Finland and Norway both evaluated the K9 versus other systems and chose it for their armies. Finland first bought 48 uses of the K9s, and they were directly given from Korea, and very satisfied that they even ordered 38 more. Norway likewise purchased 24 K9s locally named the Vidar, citing the K9's proven cold weather performance and cost-value ratio. Australia is building 30 K9s locally called the AS9 Huntsman. I kind of like that name, like the spider of course. Huntsmen are not very nice spiders. And in a new facility in Geelong as part of its defence modernisation alongside 15 K10 ammo resupply vehicles. India licensed produced 100 units as the K9 Vajra, and its army successfully adapting the design for desert and high altitude use. There is so many countries, folks, I could go on all day, but why is it so popular? For the most part, there's a few reasons that stand out for these international deals. First, of course, is performance. It's widely recognised as a top-tier system on par with the best Western howitzers. Secondly, interoperability. The K9 uses NATO standard 155mm ammunition and interfaces, which is crucial for nations operating with NATO or Western allies. This has been a big selling point, especially for European users. Thirdly, it is proven very reliable in extremely harsh conditions. Depending on where you are in the world, it makes no difference. Buyers love this platform and were very impressed with the feedback from many nations on its performance, particularly when it came to desert or winter exercises. There's a clear advantage for operations here in Canada, particularly in our northern regions. And speaking of Canada, it's strongly considering the K9 Thunder to modernise its army's artillery regiments. I would love to see a self-propelled gun back here in Canada. We used to have the M109 Paladins ourselves, but of course things have changed. Another aspect of the K9's export success is South Korea's willingness to offer technology transfer and local production. All of the deals that I recently mentioned involve local assembly or joint production, which really sweetens the pot for buyers and builds long-term partnerships. This is a huge success for platforms like the CV90. This strategy has helped Hanwha, the manufacturer of these units, sell more and more, reaching a point where there are over 1,800 of these platforms have been produced or are already on order. The users of the K9 have formed a K9 user club, no, not like the dogs, and they hold conferences to share operational lessons and maintenance tips along all different countries operating the system. I cannot express to you how beneficial and important that is. It's not often you see an artillery piece with its own international fan club, and all in all, the K9 Thunder's rise on the world stage has been remarkable. In recent conflicts and wars, artillery of course has reasserted itself as a decisive factor. The K9 Thunder is increasingly part of that story. The ongoing war in Ukraine following Russia's 2022 invasion has seen an immense expenditure of artillery shells and pressing need for modern howitzers. While South Korea has not directly sent K9s to Ukraine, South Korea has been cautious about directly exporting weapons to active war zones, the K9's presence is still felt. For one, countries like Poland that border Ukraine have bolstered their artillery arsenals with the K9s, like I had mentioned, to deter aggression. However, there have been indirect pathways putting K9-based systems in Ukrainian hands. In mid-2023, Ukrainian officials announced plans to procure the Turkey's T-155 Fretina, the K9's Turkish-built variant. A Ukrainian general staff officer publicly stated that Ukraine expects to receive the Fretina along with other Western howitzers to enhance its firepower. The deal, coming to fruition pending Turkish approval, would mark the K9's debut on the Ukrainian battlefield. Given how intensively Ukraine has been donating Western howitzers to them, like the American M109 and the Panzeritz 2000, the K9's robust build and rapid-fire capability could prove quite valuable in the high-tempo conflict. Even outside Ukraine, modern conflicts have tested the K9 in new ways. One emerging threat is loitering drones and guided strikes against artillery. In early 2025, an incident in Syria underscored this. Footage surfaced of a small drone attacking two Turkish Fretina K9 howitzers deployed near Manbij, Syria. One drone strike caused a fire on a howitzer, which the crew managed to extinguish, and another attempted to strike was also shown as well. These K9-based howitzers apparently survived, but the event highlights even how modern artillery units must adapt to drone warfare and anti-armor missiles on today's battlefields. The lesson learned is that the systems like the K9 will likely need complementary active protection or counter-drone measures in the future, something South Koreans are undoubtedly considering for next upgrades. But the K9 Thunder's story isn't ending with the current model, it's continually evolving. South Korea and Hanwha Defense have been working on upgraded versions to keep the K9 at the cutting edge of artillery technology for the coming decades. The first major upgrade, the K9 Alpha 1, is already in service and introduced in late 2018. The Alpha 1 brought a suite of improvements, an enhanced onboard navigation GPS system for quicker and more accurate deployment, an upgraded fire control system, better night vision for the crew, and refinements to the recoil system and autoloader for reliability. Essentially, the K9 Alpha 1 took feedback from years of operations to make the Thunder even more user-friendly and deadly. South Korea is upgrading all of its original K9 to the A1 standard, around 600 units planned, ensuring their huge fleet stays up to date. Countries like Finland and Norway are receiving K9 A1s in configuration as well, but the improvements don't stop there. The next big leap is the K9A2, a variant currently in prototype testing. The headline feature of the K9A2 is fully automated ammunition loading systems, which will reduce the crew from 5 down to only 3, driver, gunner and commander. With an autoloader, the rate of fire can potentially increase to 9 to 10 rounds per minute, matching or exceeding the Panzeritz 2000's famed fire rate. In fact, one goal of the A2 is to achieve a sustained rate of fire of 8 to 9 rounds per minute rate. This is incredibly fast, making it the fastest shooter in town for self-propelled guns. The K9A2 also boasts improved armor and possibly an auxiliary power unit for better fuel efficiency. Hanwha displayed the K9A2 prototype in the UK in 2023, pitching it for the British Army's Mobile Fires program to replace their S-90s. The British were shown demonstrations of the A2's all-terrain mobility and rapid fire, and Team Thunder, Hanwha's UK partners, offered the manufacturing major components in Britain if selected. While the UK has not made a final decision, the very fact that the K9A2 is a front-runner illustrates how far this system has come. Guys, British artillery do not mess around, they take it very seriously, and competing head-to-head from the birthplace of the AS-90, that's a big deal. If the A2 is adopted widely, it will extend the K9's relevance well into the 2030s and probably beyond, since fewer and fewer crew members are being pushed into these vehicles and giving a higher output for fire. They're big advantages for modern militaries. Looking even further, South Korea has hinted at the K9A3 in development. And what do we know about this platform? Well, according to Korean defense officials, the K9A3 is expected to have a range of up to 100 kilometers, potentially through the use of rocket-boosted shells or new gun technology. That is more than double the current range, a response to new long-range artillery and missile threats in the region. Many people say that the MLRS is the future of all artillery. I will always disagree. They are expensive, complicated, and quite difficult to reload. The K9A3 is also exploring unmanned or remote operations, and in fact, South Korea unveiled the innovative concept where a K-11 direct fire control vehicle, K-11A1, can remotely control multiple K9A3 howitzers in firing missions. This concept would allow a crew to operate from separate armoured vehicles or command posts, coordinating a battery of K9A3s that might not even have the humans on board during combat. It's a bit of a glimpse into the future where artillery could be for semi-autonomous, keeping soldiers further from counter-battery fire or danger. While the K9A3 is still on the horizon and details of course are quite hidden and may evolve, it shows that South Korea is serious about staying ahead of the curve with this platform. It's also worth noting that the ecosystem around the K9 is also improving. The K9 and K10 ammunition resupply vehicle is being enhanced to match the newer variants. The new smart ammunition, like the guided shells, are being integrated to the K9 and K10's precision strike capability and logistics. For example, compatibility with the GPS-guided Excalibur round, which several K9 users have purchased. All of these upgrades ensure that the current operators can keep their K9s effective against evolving threats. So we've journeyed through the story of the K9 Thunder, from its origins to the normal artillery threats to the more modernized artillery threats, with drone attack potentially even coming into the forefront. The K9 Thunder truly embodies a modern military success story, a system that has excelled in its home environment and then went on to win the respective armies around the globe. We kind of saw how it was conceived with that shoot and scoot tactic in mind, giving it the agility to survive, but its specs, its rapid fire loader, its robust chassis, allowing it to hold its own against those legendary peers. It has proved to be very tough in combat too, and we can't really compare it to, say, some of the more, battle-tested platforms like the M109, but it's certainly catching up, and particularly if it's going to get deployed to Ukraine more with this sort of indirect system of getting them there, we're going to see a lot more of this platform. I am very excited to see what the A3 upgrades bring. For military enthusiasts, the K9 Thunder is a fascinating case of South Korea's defense industry booming and coming into its own. But this platform also highlights the importance of artillery in modern combat doctrine. Artillery is, always will be, the king of battle. A reminder that in the age of high-tech gadgets, drones, etc., sometimes what you really need is a reliable system that can shoot far, shoot fast, and move again. South Korea has managed to capture that need in the K9 to a T, and the world has noticed and continues to notice. Perhaps, potentially, we'll soon see K9s with Canadian maple leaf insignia on the side or hear news of their performance in new conflict zones, but let's hope it doesn't. I'm not a fan of war, of course, but one thing's for sure, we'll definitely be hearing the boom of K9 Thunders for many years to come. Folks, thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me today on this deep dive on the K9 Thunder. Hanwha Defense, if you're watching this, please, for the love of everything, bring me to South Korea to come play with this vehicle, or wherever I can come try it out. As an artillery gunner myself, I would love nothing more than to play around with a 155mm self-propelled platform, and I have so much respect for what you do with the K9 Thunder. If you're watching, please let me come try it. Folks, if you enjoyed this comprehensive look at one of the world's premier artillery systems, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Maximus channel. I do cover a wide range of military vehicles and technology, and I'd love to hear how you enjoy them and any future videos you may want me to do. Drop a comment below on what you found the most interesting about the K9, or if there's another system you'd like to see covered. Until next time, take care, and we'll catch you in the next video. Remember, no mission is too difficult, no task is too great, and the K9 Thunder is living proof of that motto in the artillery world. Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.